Dougie, aka Brian Duggan, has been secretly out here doing the loom, and he doesn't want me to film it because, as a lot of you have always said, how the fuck does anything happen in the shed? And we'll just be honest that nothing really happens in the shed when we're all here. There's a storm coming in the middle of summer. You can hear the roof cracking. Not much clearance here. I don't want to damage Barry's sill or he'll fucking kill me. So bought these fans and they don't sit flush because we want to mount this to the radiator. It's got a little spacer in there which is too chunky. We checked Brian's engine bay and his fans sit nicely in because we're going to pin it to the radiator with these and it'll just ruin it. Even with the spacers it doesn't clear. So we found these brand new mountain bike brake pads and we're going to try and take the little spacers out of here and maybe bring it down a size so it sits in flush. So that's the
plan anyway.
We're making a little bracket for the relay, so
over the opposite side
yeah, over the opposite side.
We're just using this for the light.
So we're going to mount it on the chassis rail. And here's our cardboard bracket that we're using. There's the holes for the shape. So we're going to make this out of aluminum, or as we like to say here in Ireland, aluminium cardboard. Screwdrivers. We've convinced Josh to make smaller spacers because the mountain bike ones won't sit flush on the bearing. There's a bearing in here and it needs to sit perfectly on the inner race of the bearing so it doesn't actually wear away the shield on the bearing. So the fans, I guess they're like a tenner off eBay.
That's why.
And that's why they're not great. They're molded a bit shitty and stuff. But like they're
a bit of free play.
Yeah, they're grand. Like we
we
couldn't find super fancy fans. So that's a job for the next couple of days. I'm also going to cross some stuff off the list in a minute because loads of the stuff is done and the list has not been crossed off, and I'll probably just make a new list out of cardboard. It's just that I don't have a Sharpie anymore because they always get stolen on me. What else has been going on here? Dougie, aka Brian Duggan, has been secretly out here doing the loom, and he doesn't want me to film it because, as a lot of you have always said, how the fuck does anything happen in the shed? And we'll just be honest that nothing really happens in the shed when we're all here because it's just an absolutely gigantic distraction. He's been coming out here without even telling me because he just doesn't want me to stick the camera in his face when he's doing all this loom stuff because I will ask him too many questions and annoy him. And that's totally understandable. Brian's working at his own pace and I'm forever in his debt for doing this for me. Like, this is the nicest thing ever, so I couldn't be happier. And Brian is very OCD and that's good. So he has done an incredible job on the loom. This is what it's going to look like. The engine bay is pretty much finished. Gone for like a tucked look, as you've probably seen. We welded the holes up here, drilled new ones here. The loom's going to be tucked out the front so you won't see it. We're making the bracket right now for the relays. They're for the thermostat. The fans to kick in off a thermostat that we bought, which is going to go on the bottom of the rad so we can get an accurate reading instead of one off the back of the block. I keep forgetting to film, or Brian just doesn't when I'm not around, so wherever this comes into a video, this video of the progress over the last month or two is probably going to be quite jumpy. He mounted these without me being around, or I kind of mounted them on, but he mounted them on properly because this was rubbing off this, but it wasn't mounted, and he put in all new hardware on this. It seems like there's a little bit of weepage somewhere. We're going to have to figure that out. But it's all just teething issues. The Kyo rad, the lads mounted this. I'm going to take off these brackets and paint them satin black because they're just a little bit too shiny. I got to take off this and heat wrap it and clean it up. We went up to Dan the other day, which you've seen in the video, to put in the sensor. So we just need to wire that in. The whole engine has to come forward 10 mil because the linkage for the heaters is really not wanting to hang out in around this area, so I'm not sure what we're going to do there. Same with the pipes for the back of the heater system. The distributor blanking cap is too big, so I don't know, we'll see how that goes. There's a fairly tight squeeze here, and moving everything forward to 10 mil should give a bit of clearance all along here, so that there's going to be a mount on the gearbox that'll bring everything forward. There's enough room to play with. We're going to paint the front light buckets and the cage in a few weeks over in flips, and yeah, do an exhaust system as well. This is all just mocked up for now, but more or less the engine is permanently in. I think I talked about how we fitted these because I can't run the cover for the bonnet, so I need to spruce this up to maybe match this because it's pretty fucking hideous. A lot of just little things happening over like the last month, like no huge progress that happens over a weekend, and I've just been either not here to film them or it's stuff that's been happening and we've been filming it in little spurts, so you'll eventually see it. Brian fitted all this stuff and we cleaned it up. I remember we put it in the parts washer. He also did the fuel lines the other day, which was pretty sound, has it all tidied up and shortened with the custom fuel filter setup that we've run. Just need to plug in the last few little bits now, and we're not too far off of starting it then. I just mocked up a wing and a P1 just for a bit of inspiration. I shared a picture of this the other day. This will be a year from now, so you won't know what I'm talking about, but just for inspiration. Darryl was nice enough to take apart the caliber and rebuild it because the paint and crust that was in where the seal sits on the piston was weeping. He done that with Brian like last week. We've just come back out, and this evening we just checked it and it had a little bit of weepage around here, so we're just going to leave that alone and see if it weeps some more. A lot of small little things, not incredibly exciting stuff. Hopefully some massive progress where we put some oil in this and fuel and get it going over the next while. It does look great. I'm very excited with this engine bay. I may not sound it because I'm quite monotone here at the moment, but very, very excited about it. It's close, and that's fucking great. 3 years. Brian has also done all the wiring here. It's nearly all tidied up, ready to plug into the dash. He's mounted the ECU. The fuse box then is going to go in the glove box. It's a little crusty, so he's been messing around with that. The battery box is permanently in. Got a brand new battery the other day. We got a pretty powerful amp and CCA rating because of how far away it is from the engine. It needs really good cranking power, and the fact that we're running a standard ECU with the 20 valve coil kind of job, it's an absolute pain in the hole to crank this over because all the sparks are firing at the same time. Eventually we'll go with an aftermarket ECU, but we're running this setup for now because it's what's here and like it looks good, yeah, and eventually we can plug an ECU into all this loom that Brian has done. I've ordered different terminals from eBay because the ones that I got, Brian wasn't happy with them. They won't fit inside the battery box. They need to be standing.
Yeah, not
sideways ones. So he gave me this crusty one as an example. Here's the gearbox mount to push the engine forward, 10mm. We just got to tidy that little fucker up. He's a bit DIY looking. Loads of, it's just stuff. It's been a parts collector at the moment, but it's getting there. We got a Barry's coming down in a few weeks, hopefully, to do the arches when the car is sitting down. But that's after we get it running and driving and hopefully bring it for a spin. And then it's suddenly not a massive steel box collecting expensive parts, like, which is pretty much what it's been. It's like a really expensive box just to collect all the parts I've always wanted. We're getting there. Talking to nobody. Here's my project I did in school when I was for my final year. My woodwork teacher has retired and he asked me to come in and collect it, so now it just lives in the shed since the other day. I'm not sure what to do with this, but just in case you're wondering what that is when it's in the background. You can put in all the heater box and all the stuff. That's all redone. I really need to just come out with Brian and just talk to him about what's going on. The dash then, everything, all that'll go in real quickly. I'm very, very excited. I have one mat in just to cheer myself up. But yeah, hopefully paint the cage and paint the last few bits and get it all in now over the next 2 weeks and try crack on. It's booked in for paint with Jackie in September, which is a month from now, but you know the way these things never go to plan, so it probably will be a couple of months. I'm doing a lot of talking here, so I do apologise, but I just wanted to give you guys a little up to speed on what's happening, because yeah, it's been, you know, vague and there's been bits and bobs, and we're getting there. There's less and less stuff under the tables anymore, so things are going on and staying on the car. There's a storm coming in the middle of summer. It's the first time we've had a tropical storm in Ireland since 1986 apparently, and it's supposed to be,
19th of August.
yeah, it's supposed to be really bad. The shed flooded the other day because we've had just like crazy torrential rain, and there's still a puddle here, so it's probably going to get completely fucking flooded again tonight. Yeah, so we're just leaving, about to go home. We're going to do something different with the bracket. Storm Ellen is kicking the fucking shit out of the shed. You can hear the roof cracking. Let's hope the roof is here tomorrow. So the engine is far back, or kind of, and the heater controls, I guess, valve is conflicting with the AE111 throttle bodies. And the heater pipes as well are probably going to be in the way. So Brian made this spacer. And I've made shit of it, so I'm not going to show it on camera. It's terrible, but it's a 10 mil spacer, and it's going to move the gearbox and the engine forward 10 mil to try and put some space behind here for the heaters, because we're running heaters because it's Ireland and it's not a race car.
Yeah, we all are. Everyone's always scratching their arse.
We're going to jack the gearbox up then. Not much clearance here. I don't want to damage Barry's sill or he'll fucking kill me.
Well, in anything, because it's more like this, because I've never I didn't demo the demo of the new version. Safe.
So we've moved this forward with a 10 mil spacer, which you've just seen on the bottom, but the pipe is still touching off the distributor blanking cap on the back, so we'll have to give that a bit of tough love. Seems to be plenty of space there now with that. That's completely. It's funny that when you bulked that shit up, it was just grand. Yeah. But no problems here anymore, which is nice. Space, the final frontier.